Today I'm going to be breaking down Countryside by Sarkodie featuring Black Sherif. For those of you that are new to the channel, we do things a little bit differently here on Pure Urban Music Extra. I will be taking the time to analyse and give my perspective on the various elements of the track as we go through it, and the purpose of that is to provide you with some value, even if it's just a small piece by the end of the video. Before we do go ahead and get into the video though, I want to give a shout out to this person for this comment. Also, if you like new music and you want to hear more of it, go ahead, check out my main channel, Pure Urban Music, link in the description below. 100% of the royalties do go straight back to the artist. So if you want to get involved and you want to show your support, then yeah, please go ahead and check that out. Finally, if you do have a track or an artist that you want me to check out, go ahead, post it in the comments below. A lot of you have been doing that already. It's one of my favorite comments to receive. So yeah, keep them coming. Let's get it.
Are we Jean? Are we Jean? We go. Are we Jean? Can you hear this song? If you hear this song, get your kicks on. No time, my brother. We gone. We gone. You know.
Okay, right, so opening thoughts on the track. I really like those organs, man. They're short, they're sharp, they're punchy, they come in and out, they're not there like kind of consistently. And what that's doing is that's having an impact on the track or an influence on the overall vibe and feel of the track. You notice with Black Sherif, he's also got sort of like a kind of sharp and kind of punchiness or a bounciness to his flow. Another thing actually that I find interesting here is the fact that we've actually kicked off with Black Sherif, right? Normally, you know, when somebody is to feature, you start off with the primary artist, which in this case would be Sarkodie, and then you would bring the feature in sort of like, you know, later on. But they haven't done this. They've switched it round, and, you know, I don't mind because, you know, Black Sherif does his thing and he definitely brings something special to the track, you know, each time that he's on it. Another thing that I've kind of, you know, picked up on in terms of Black Sherif's vocals is at the end of each one of his phrases, they've got some response vocals in there, or what you might also call follow-up vocals, right? Now, one of, and potentially the reason why they've done that is that if you listen to the instrumental, there's not really a lot in there, right? You've got the drums, so you've got the kick, you've got the shakers, you've got the snare, you've got the organs that are in there, you've got the bass that's coming in every now and again. So in terms of sort of like instrumental, it's quite bare. So what they do to kind of try and fill the void between the end of one phrase and the start of another is they add in those response vocals or the follow-up vocals. And what that saves them doing is having to bring in things like risers, crashes, transitions, and all this sort of stuff, or just extra instruments to kind of fill that void. Because what that can do, and I say can because, you know, it's not necessarily going to happen, but what it can do is when you start throwing, you know, other things in there, it can potentially make the track sound overproduced and even cluttered. So cheeky little production technique there is just to kind of have those response or those follow-up vocals to fill that void.
No more. We no feel waste time for no pagan brothers. No more. They go see we for countryside. He be there, they go see we, they go follow man them go for countryside.
Okay, right. I know I'm stopping it very shortly after I stopped it previously, but I just want to bring your attention to this. So notice how we get transitioned into this part of the track and what happens in this part of the track to make it sound a lot more richer, a lot more fuller, a lot more wider, right? So actually the transition, we get a nice cheeky little drum roll there, which is a nice touch. And then what happens, and I can't make out what the instrument is, but we get this instrument that comes in and all it's doing is playing these very long, elongated notes. And it is shifting, right? But it doesn't kind of come off to then shift and change key. It changes key very smoothly without actually coming off at all. I'll take it back, right? Just pay attention to that. But just listen to that transition, right? And how it makes that entry into this part of the track way better. But then also what that instrument does, right, when it comes in to the overall sound of this part.
No more. We no fi waste time for no pagan brothers. No more.
Right, drum roll.
They go see we for countryside.
And then you got that instrument.
They go follow man them go for countryside. If we die they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside. If we die they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside. If we die they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside.
Time no the wait for nobody. What if I can't? I want to what yes with the waste time. Everybody get your own blessing. I check my nasu will be so why you the hate man? By the time I'm ready so better when I be do I'm on my temal and the me baseline. People say me you hint me chinko so ya home I go to I'm in the daytime.
Okay, absolutely spot on, bro, with the flow here. Right? Nice and pacey. It keeps with that kind of vibe and bounciness and punchiness of the track that I was talking about. Right? It's just absolutely spot on. And the pace of it, right, kind of fills the instrumental even more. A little bit like, you know, with the follow-up vocals that I was talking about. Right, the instrumental piece or the arrangement, right, is exactly the same. We've only got the percussions in there. We've got the organs. We've got a bit of the bass. But the way that he's delivering these vocals, and it seems to finish perfectly with the organ press as well, it actually doesn't sound empty. It doesn't sound bare. And what you've got to realise here is that there's no follow-up vocals, right, or response vocals like there was on Black Sherif's side. And that's fine because he's rapping, he's not singing. But yeah, production standpoint, bang on. Delivery of those verses and those vocals, absolute fire.
If it's a more dummy, what the love at? It's an amor fam, I know the call back. I feel like me who's the fame, no be all that. So when me peg, everybody go fall back. So when the good time comes, and the money pile up for the countryside.
There's that instrument again.
People stack for the ride inside.
They go see we for countryside. If you die, they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside. If you die, they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside.
Do you know what, right? They are being very cheeky here, man, with Black Sherif's vocals, right? So just right, like you might not be able to hear it because these layered vocals are buried like kind of quite deep in the mix. So if you're not paying attention to it, you wouldn't hear it. But what you have, you've got these layered vocals that are being harmonized, right? And again, they're kind of like, they're not necessarily ad-libs, they are follow-up vocals, they're response vocals, right? But they're coming from the right-hand side, but they've also got this effect put on them, so they're not kind of crisp and upfront with the lead vocals like you would expect sort of like melodies or follow-up vocals to be. But it adds such a nice kind of subtle touch to these vocals within this part of the track. I'll take it back, just pay attention, right? So a little bit further back, coming from the right hand side, they're harmonized, but they're also not in there all the time either. Just listen.
If you die, they go see we they go follow man them go
there
for countryside. If you die, they go see we
again.
They go follow man them go for countryside. If you die, they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside. If you die, they go see we they go follow man them go for countryside.
If I think about the place where I came from and all the things that I've been through, it's kind of funny how you niggas wanna say something. Say the beer me say mo cry me soon. Cause I started off broke. Oh, mummy, I'm a con, but the nigga don't choke. Nobody for try me if you know they want smoke. I know it's hard, but I'm giving y'all hope.
Okay, right. Something else that I've noticed here, and it's actually, you know, a sign of a pro, really. Somebody who really knows what they're doing. What you notice is that it's still got that paciness to it that we had in, you know, sort of like the first part. But there's actually more space between the end phrase and the starting phrase. And, you know, One of the things that's good about that is that you, and I've said it many times before, you need constant shifts and changes within a track to keep it fresh, to keep it moving, to stop it getting boring or repetitive. And one of the ways that you can do that is, and this is away from the instrumental, and that's to switch up the flow and the delivery of the vocals, right? And that's exactly what he's doing here. First time round, it was pacey, but there was less space. Second time round, it's pacey, but there's more space between each phrase. So yeah, absolutely banging touch.
You're feeling like the world is against you, and you're back against the wall. God is gonna send you an angel. Tell me, baby, I go rise when you fall, so don't stop, stay strong. It'll be overnight, it will take long. When you go 10 times down, you go rise 10 times up. Sing along,
nigga. Can you hear this song? If you hear this song, get your kicks on. No time, my brother, we gone. We gone. You know, we need a grow no more. We don't feel waste time for no pagan brothers. No more. They go see we for countryside.
Love those drum rolls, man.
They go see we, oh. They go follow man, them go. For countryside.
Ad-libs there. Layered vocals are in there again. Absolute banger. Okay, final thoughts on the track. Firstly, really like the overall vibe and the feel of the track. It's got a real feel-good vibe to it, a bit of a summer vibe, right? Which is nice, especially when I'm looking out the window and it's raining. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is created because of those organs. Right, those organs are in there. They're short, they're sharp, they're punchy. They're not just kind of being held down. They're in and they're out and they're on and they're off. And, you know, just the chords that are being played there creates that kind of, you know, bounciness and feel good factor. Obviously, along with the delivery of the vocals from both artists. So, yeah, in terms of vibe and feel good factor, it's a 10 from me. Second thing that I really liked about this is the fact that they kicked us off with Black Sherif. I know I said it in the video, but usually on a feature, the feature will come further on, you know, down the line. They certainly won't kick things off. But I think it was a wise choice to do that because Black Sherif has his own kind of thing that he delivers and brings to a track, whether that be his own or whether he be on a feature. So to kick us off with that really helps sets that tone. And again, going back to my first point, that overall feel and vibe to the track. So even though I wasn't expecting it, and it's not something that you usually see, I think it was a very, very wise choice in this case. Thirdly, we have to talk vocally, and we have to do that about both artists. So there's a couple of things that I really liked about what they did with Black Sherif's vocals. So the first one was the response vocals or the follow-up vocals that they gave us at the start. I also liked the layered vocals and the harmonies of Black Sherif's that were buried deeper in the mix, right? Even though they were hard to hear, when you did hear them, they definitely added something a little extra to that whole kind of vocal arrangement. Moving on to Sarkodie. Absolutely loved the guy's flow. Absolutely loved it. I think it suited and matched the track so well. And I particularly like the way that he then on the second part of the track, you know, kept that paciness of the flow, but left just some space in between just to keep things kind of shifting or changing within the track. Okay, that's it for me. If you want to see another Black Sherif breakdown, then click on one of the boxes that are up on the screen now. I'm not sure which one it is, but it will take you to another video. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.